This video is brought to you by my beautiful patrons. If you want to be part of the Patreon team, please feel free to click the link down below. I hope you enjoy this video. I wrote this script because it was something I wanted and even needed to talk about. In 2018, I became addicted to sleeping pills for about 5 months. I wanted to explore the themes of drugs and their nature within gaming today. But before we start, and if currently you're having any issues with drugs or drinking, just remember there are people out there and organisations that you're able to talk to and able to get some help. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. From Pac-Man eating what seems to be some sort of tablet, to Mario using mushrooms to get health, and of course the stim packs we must use to survive the wastelands of Fallout, drugs in gaming has been seen as a source of health and even life. And this is not always the case, of course. Gaming doesn't equal to drug use or even violence, but that doesn't stop there from being clear implications and imagery of drug use in a game itself. But we often look past these implications of what we're doing or even what we're using these items for. Not for a second do I believe that Mario is actually tripping balls by crunching down on some mushrooms, because I understand that it's a kids game and that we're able to enjoy these fictional worlds and fantasies that Nintendo allows us to have. But it's also easy to put 2 and 2 together, and it's even quite funny to think about Mario getting quite high just while eating mushrooms. Or for example the Resident Evil franchise. Before the herbs became a liquid based spray when combined, or even some sort of form of tic tac, but with no animations or even implications on how these are consumed, we only are left there with our imagination, and well, you can just imagine Chris, Jill, Claire or Leon just rolling a joint and getting a little bit high.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
We very quickly learn that these are helpful items and that they allow our characters to survive within these worlds, almost like they become dependent on them. And that's a very important path, and even a misleading path, that drug use is very infamous for. As I said in the start, I became addicted to sleeping pills for several months a few years back, but these are the only levels of drugs that I've ever done, and I don't even drink much, because I'm afraid of the implications and anything like weed or even worse could lead to. I suffer from severe insomnia even to this day, and I can have days without sleep, or at least with very little. I've had this since my early days of college, and it's something that I've learned to live with and use to my best abilities, whether it's using that time to relax or even edit. But for a while, when this first started out, and even when I first moved into my own home, I felt lonely and I just wanted to sleep, so I thought maybe I should just take one pill and see how that works, and well, it worked wonders. Take one of them, I was off to sleep within the hour, and for a while I did this for most nights of fear of not being able to get any sleep. I didn't want to stay up, and if I had any work or anything to do the next day, I thought I would just take a pill, and I just became addicted to this nature. I just wanted to take one of these a night because I knew it would help me sleep. If I didn't sleep, I was afraid of getting depressing thoughts again. But then all of a sudden, one wasn't good enough. I wasn't falling asleep anymore and it wasn't working on me as much. So I thought, hey, why not try 2? And well, you can see where it went from there. Let's just say that in the end of this journey, I ended up taking 4 pills a night just to try and get asleep. I understand how dangerous this was, and luckily I wasn't on this path for very long until I snapped out of it. But I believed that I was dependent on these sleeping tablets, and I believed it's all I could do to escape the thoughts on my own mind. There are some games that use drug use as a main premise and even a point of story. Games like Blood Trail on VR, you actually depend on smoking crack to get health for your character. This game is dark and all you have to do is take drugs and mow down thugs. I once spoke about this game's distressing atmosphere. There's no music, it's not funny, there's no video game tropes. Instead you're faced with a game based deeply in reality, and the sounds of empty shells and bloody footsteps become your symphony of murder and drug use. I find it interesting that drugs in video games are usually seen as fun and even exist within the game's world or lore to help the player and do nothing else. Sometimes though, there are games where drugs really do play a big factor within its world. Games like Fallout, Skyrim and even Outer Worlds allow the player to become addicted to substances within their own worlds. Bethesda quite commonly make villains addicted to skooma or even jet or even some sort of Fallout drug to come across that they're evil and that they're in the wrong, making drugs look like more of a bad premise, but it doesn't stop the player from having a choice of using them. But also games use drugs for comedy and even enlightenment sometimes. Games like GTA 5's crazy drug trips or even Far Cry 3's journey of self-discovery. But mainly there is one game that I wanted to touch on where the drugs play a big role with the character and its worlds and how it affects the character alone. And of course I'm talking about Max from Max Payne. Max has been through a lot in his life, from being a well-known and even loved and respected cop to a drug-addicted alcoholic who hates his role within the world. After a freak drug outbreak in New York, Max returns home to find out that his wife and child have been murdered by drug-filled maniacs. And over a period of 3 games, Max slowly becomes a byproduct of all the death of the loved ones and even the anger that he's witnessed throughout his journey. And he uses it like one hell of an excuse to not do his homework. And even ended up becoming just like the people who killed his family, addicted to drugs and loaded with shots. There is a dangerous cycle that comes with any type of addiction, whether that be drinking, drug use, exercise or even food. I actually heard this from Russell Brand and I thought it was quite interesting. He said that addiction ends and begins with pain. You first feel lonely and sad and you just want it to all go away. Cool, okay, here are some drugs or even some drink, fine, I'll take that. Oh wow, it looks like I found the answer and got rid of all these bad thoughts and ideas that go through my head and I feel fucking great. I can't believe this drug has fixed all my issues, but all my friends are beginning to look at me a little bit funny. Oh no, now I'm alone, no one cares for me, and I'm sad once again. You know what, I've got an idea. Let's try some of those drugs again. And that's a dangerous cycle to get into. Addiction always begins and ends with pain. And I believe that sleeping pills fixed my problems, but it didn't. I didn't realise how dangerous these drugs were, and I didn't realise how easy it was to become addicted to something so simple as a sleeping pill. Especially for someone like me who suffers from severe insomnia. And of course these sleeping tablets are a drug and a choice that people are able to use, but of course it is important to make sure that you keep an eye on how many you take and keep an eye on exactly what your body is feeling at the right time. Max believed that drinking heavily and taking painkiller tablets cured his issues, or at least dimmed the lights. Not once throughout the intro of this game do we see a strong man who's overcome the odds from the last few games, but instead a lonely man crying to himself on the floor, trapped inside this cycle of addiction that he needs to escape. At the beginning of Max Payne 3 there's a really nice touch I like. We see him move into his apartment and he doesn't take a second to really look at himself and see what he's become. It's an important touch and I think it's important to even touch on. When I was taking even one pill a night I knew exactly what I was doing and I knew it was wrong. It's dangerous to even take one a night and get too many, but for myself to face that I would have to pay attention to the mirror and tell myself to stop taking it and have a serious self-intervention. I was luckily able to come to my senses before it got too serious, but I knew what I was doing. I was honestly trying to run away from something. I just wanted to escape my traumas and just sleep. As I mentioned, I'm currently still going through therapy and I haven't actually taken a sleeping tablet in a while. If I need to, it's entirely herbal and I make sure I take it in small doses. I realised that I was spiraling into something completely different than just wanting to sleep. To be able to slap myself in the face and tell myself to get over it, sort yourself out, and you're clearly not happy was the most enlightening moment of my life in recent years. Being able to stop these tablets and having something to rely on is something that I to this day still hold quite close to my heart as probably one of my most personal moments in my life. I think it's important to share that because it's important to let people know that you can also overcome these fears and you can also overcome these addictions. And Max does this as well. He looks into the mirror about halfway into the game and notices that he needs to change. He's grey, he's old, he's balding, he's drinking for no reason other than crying on the past and using it as an excuse. He stops drinking heavily throughout the rest of the game, and of course the painkiller situation is a health system, so of course they couldn't work that really into the story. But at the end of the game you see him sort of putting his life back together. You see him pick up a bag, walk into the sunset, and it only makes us wonder if we're going to see Max Payne ever again. I personally hope we don't, because Max Payne deserves a break. I think we all deserve a break. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry this was another deep one, but there's been a few things on my mind that I thought I might as well write about, and I might as well get off my chest and at least turn it into some sort of art form that hopefully people can find useful and even inspiring in the future. If you did enjoy this video, of course, leave a comment down below. If you are handling any of these issues that I do touch on within this game, remember, as I said earlier, there is help and there are organizations that can help you out as well. If you did enjoy this video, of course, leave a like, subscribe for more videos like this every week, and I will see you at the next checkpoints. Goodbye.